Hi, and welcome to Old School Blues Guitar. It is time for the electric blues guitar instrumental lesson for the months of April through June 2020. This is a brand new category of lessons. I've been doing random lessons here and there on different instrumentals, just as a guitar player and not a singer. I have always loved the guitar instrumentals. But now I'm making these regular lessons. Some of these I'll break down note for note, verse by verse, teach you the entire thing. Others, I'm going to just try to show you the ideas. And this tune for this time around is one that is really long. It's called Shufflin' the Blues by T-Bone Walker. Somebody actually requested this, and I'd never heard of this one. I'd heard a lot of T-Bone Walker. I've got a couple vinyl LPs, and I've got a bunch of CDs of his, and I never, for some reason, never heard this song. This is a great song, and if you want to learn T-Bone Walker style guitar, this song by itself pretty much features, all, if not all, but a good majority of T-Bone Walker's licks and ideas. Now it's 11 verses long, so here's what I've done. I've tabbed out the entire song, the best of my ability. There's a few places where I'm not sure if I got it exactly right, but I think it's pretty darn close. And I had fun doing that. It took a long time and it was hard, but I think I got it, and I learned a lot just by doing the tabs. I'm not going to teach you every verse all the way through. That would take probably a couple hours to do. So instead, I'm going to do highlights. Being a sports fan, I like highlights, and so I'm going to give you a lick or two from each verse, and along the way try to explain some of the things I've picked up or learned about T-Bone Walker's approach over the years, and also from just listening to this song. So Shufflin' the Blues by T-Bone Walker. This one's by request. The song is in the key of C, so really almost every lick that he plays on the song is played over the first position blues box in C. And this is a great study in how you can take the first position blues box and come up with so many different variations and ideas and licks and double stops and using chords, all kinds of great stuff here. We're going to start with the introduction, which by itself is pretty darn cool. I'm going to show you the introduction for verse 1, and then I'm going to also show you the very last lick that he plays, because he plays this lick or some variation of it at the end of every verse in the song. So anyway, here is the introduction to Shufflin' the Blues by T-Bone Walker in the key of C. Ready? Play it one more time. Pretty cool. I'm starting on the 10th fret of the 4th string, and then I'm going to go climbing up the first position blues box, 8, 9 on the 3rd string, 8, 10 on the 2nd string, 8th fret of the 1st string, and then a little bend up on the 11th fret of the 1st string. I don't know if I got the bass part right at the beginning. Check the tab and listen to the original for that. So that is the first idea that I have. I have the ideas, I'll try to highlight them on the tab so you can see exactly which ones I taught, and then anything I don't have highlighted or labeled will be the stuff that I didn't teach. And then at the end of each verse, and he does this for the first time with the first verse, he plays the single string turnaround type lick, and it goes like this. This is the basic version of it. One more time. So he's just playing that same climbing lick, going into the 11th fret of the 1st string, 8th fret, 1st string, 8th fret, 2nd string. You could also lead into that with the C note, which is the 10th fret of the 4th string, which you may do. I'm trying to think of the original recording. I've got the tab, but I can't really see it. But you could play it either way if you get the timing right. You could do it without the bass note, with the bass note. That's pretty simple. So these licks, the entire song, he's just playing lick after lick after lick over that first position blues box. So there's a couple highlights from verse 1. Listen to the tune and check out my tab, and you can go through lick by lick. I have it broken down by phrases to make it easier. So I didn't write the tab out for the whole song. I just broke it down into each guitar phrase, tried to separate them at logical points. So there's verse 1. Verse 2 of Shufflin' the Blues starts out with this monster double stop chord lick. Let me see if I can play this all the way through for you, and then we'll break it down. Play something like that. And what we're doing, we're in the key of C. We've got a 7th double stop, C7 double stop. I'm using my 2nd and 3rd fingers on the 11th fret of the 2nd string and the 12th fret of the 3rd string. And he starts out playing, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. He plays over 2 bars. And then right there, he plays something like that where he's sliding into it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then right away, he's going to go to a C 9th chord, first position, C 9th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that takes us to the 4 in the song. And he's playing over the F, which is the 4. So let me try to play that. It's kind of hard to play slowly. This part, just holding that position with the right hand. I'm doing some almost like surf guitar picking, staccato picking, back and forth. So he plays that over 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he goes into the like that. That is really cool. It's a great example of using double stops, mixing up your picking attack, and then also using a first position 9th chord as a lead lick. So that is the first idea from verse number 2. The rest of verse 2, he plays a typical T-Bone Walker lick. And that one is pretty basic. You're just sliding. You can do it 2 ways. You can bend up with your first finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. You can use your 2nd and 3rd fingers and bend up at the 10th fret. Use your right hand palm to control and mute. Or you can slide on the 3rd string from the 10th to the 12th fret and come back to that 8th fret of the 2nd string. A couple different ways to play that lick, and T-Bone Walker, I think, played it both ways. And then one other idea from verse 2 that I found really interesting is how sometimes he'll play the same lick back to back. He'll do something like this. So he's playing same lick right after the other. And there's an example of that in several different verses, but this is from verse 2 toward the end of the verse. Play something like that, or listen for that as you listen to the original song and see if you get it. That helps you understand how you can play these single string runs and get the timing right. So that is verse number 2. There's other ideas in these verses, but I'm just showing you some of the highlights as we go through Shufflin' the Blues by T-Bone Walker. Verse 3 starts off with a lick that I'm not exactly sure how he played this. If you play in the first position blues box in the key of C, oftentimes T-Bone Walker would play these licks with diminished chords. Maybe you've heard that before. And he starts out the verse playing something like this. And as I listen to it more and more, that's kind of hard to play. It's hard to go from that diminished chord shape and then get back to it right away. The other possibility is he's playing just the 2 strings, the 1st and 2nd string, like this. And if the guitar is loud enough and amplified right, you know, the hollow body that he played, maybe that's the sound. I listened to it one time and I think I hear that whole diminished chord. I listened to it again and I'm pretty sure I only hear the two strings. So you can listen to that yourself. He does this several times throughout the song. So what I think he's doing here, he does variations on this throughout the tune, but he just does this lick back and forth between the double stop. I've got my pinky on the 11th fret of the first string, ring finger on the 10th fret of the second string, and my first finger barring the 8th fret, first and second string. Just take my pinky and third finger off, put it back on. Play something like that. So listen to the start of the third verse, and he just plays a short version of that to lead into the single string stuff, but that's what I think he's playing. The second phrase I'm going to show you from verse number 3 is kind of an extended example of a T-bone Walker single string run. And this is one that he plays toward the end of the verse leading into the turnaround. And it goes something like this. Let me try to play it note for note for you. One more time. Pretty neat. That one you can check out the tab, but I'm starting it out with that lick right there, which is a real common T-bone Walker lick. I'm bending up on the 10th fret of the 3rd string. I'm dragging my pick down with my first finger barring the 8th fret, 1st and 2nd strings. That's the first part. Right there. And then 2 of these. And then 2 repeated licks. Just like I showed you earlier. He does that in quite a few of the verses where he plays that bend. Some variation of that. So one more time all the way through. I'll try to play it slowly. So that's the second example from verse number 3. Verse number 4, he's going to start out with these really cool chord vamps. And he does this again a couple more times. He plays something like this. And then he goes into the single string stuff. What he's playing here is this chord shape, which is what a lot of blues guitar players call the hideaway chord or the Freddie King chord. I think it's a C7, version of a C7. You ever hear the song Hideaway? You hear that? Earl Hooker used this chord. Pee Wee Crayton used it as well. And in C, I've got my first finger at the 5th fret, barring the 1st and 2nd strings. Got my pinky on the 8th fret of the 1st string. Got my second finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Pinky's on the 1st string. And then my ring finger is going to get the 8th fret of the 4th string. So he plays this riff. 1, 2, 3. And then he's going to go just to an F9 from one step above, from the 9th and 8th frets to the 8th and 7th. And you'll hear this again. There's one verse where he plays the entire verse just using these chords. And we'll get to that later. I have the chords diagrammed at the top of the tab for you. And listen to the original in this part. That lick's pretty simple, but it's very cool. Again, using chords as a lead lick. Next lick from verse 4 is a really cool descending single string run that he does. And let me try to play this for you, and then we'll break it down. One more time. Really cool. Check the tab. I'm not going to go through every note. He starts out. something like that. And he's going to go like that. 11, 11, 10, 10, and the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And then check the tab. So he's just doubling up on those notes all the way through. One more time. That one is kind of fun, really cool. Verse number 5 of Shufflin' the Blues by T-Bone Walker starts out with a really cool lick, and it goes something like this. Very horn-like lick. Check the tab on that one, and then he goes right into this, which is the second lick I want to show you from this verse. And all of this is on the 2nd and 1st string. Plays it really fast. So both of those licks are played in the first part of the fifth verse. In the 5th verse, the 4th phrase that I have tabbed out for you is another common T-Bone Walker lick. And you've heard this, where you're bending the 3rd string at the 10th fret and have the 1st finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. But sometimes he's going to go to the 1st string 8th fret instead of the 2nd string. And then sometimes he combines these. And the 4th phrase of this verse, I have something like this. And that is the next lick I want to show you from the 5th verse. So he starts out with that bend, and then like that, before he gets ready to wrap up the verse. So one more time. That is simple, but it's really cool. Verse number 6, he starts out again with one of these either diminished chord licks or double stop licks. He's either playing like this, something like that, or he's going really cool idea. Notice how every time he does these, he mixes up the pattern. Like the first time he'll play something like this, and then the next time he'll play. Just another example, yet another example of taking the same basic licks and ideas and just mixing them up a little bit, adding some variation to make them sound different. Further along in verse 6, this is the 2nd lick I'm going to show you from verse 6. He does a really cool single string run with some double stops thrown in. Goes something like this. One more time. Two things that are interesting about this lick. First of all, the way he starts it, he's got this, what I call a rake, where he's dragging the pick down with his right hand. And then right here, he's going to go on the 3rd string from the 11th fret to the 10th fret. And then go into this lick. Just an interesting combination of notes there. So played slowly. I thought that was a neat variation in those single string runs that he plays. And that is the 3rd phrase from verse number 6. You can find it on the tab.